Hello everybody, welcome to today's video. I'm excited to do today's video because it has been a requested video from a couple of people actually, and so I really think that it will be a great one for you if you're either teetering about whether to become an online teacher or if you already have started but you're not quite sure what to do in the actual classroom mode. So today I'm going to be talking about classroom management techniques. So especially if you've never taught virtually before or online and Zoom and all that stuff, you're going to want to know a couple of the things. I'm going to share with you today. So I wrote a little notepad cheat sheet so I make sure that I cover all of the things that I want to tell you. And then if you have any questions, feel free to write them down in the comments below and then I'll respond back to you. So just don't think that your question is a dumb question because somebody else might have the same one. And then when I answer it, everybody can see it. So definitely reach out to me on either the comment section here or email me or whatever so we can get your question answered. All right, so without further ado, let's go ahead and talk about classroom management. So what I'm going to describe to you is how I do my classes and how I set it up. And then that way, as I go through the class, I can give you some pointers. So the first thing I do is I go through the Outschool platform. There is a green button in your classroom that will say Start Live Meeting. And that's what you click when you are ready to go and you're ready to have your students come into the actual Zoom classroom with you. Now, a couple of things. Number one, if you click that button, let's say 15 minutes early before class, I just did that. Like I literally was just teaching and I hopped on at 9 o'clock instead of 9:15 and I was wondering where everyone was. I'm like, where are all my students? And I'm like, I must have done something wrong. So I went in and I realized that the class didn't start for 15 more minutes. And I'm like, oh man, not a big deal. Like, hello, I've been doing this for how many months now and I've did that. So not a big deal. I just exited the Zoom. I went on the platform and it was fine. Like, don't worry if you accidentally click and start the meeting. Just get out of the meeting and leave and show up again at the right time. If anyone even reached out to you to say, hey, I saw that the Zoom meeting started, just let them know, like, oh, I clicked the button, my mistake. Don't worry, I'll see you at regular class time. Like, nothing to worry about. A second thing that goes with this is, well, first of all, I just want to remind you, like, don't freak out if you click the button. Not a big deal. Nothing bad's going to happen to you, okay? I do also want to let you know, though, once you click that green button and your Zoom screen is on, you are being recorded, okay? So if you're somebody that likes to get on the Zoom maybe like 2 to 3 minutes ahead of time to get yourself all ready and set up, totally fine, but just know that everything that you're doing is being recorded. So if you're on your computer and you make funny faces, like, it's going to happen and it's going to be recorded, just so you know. If you take a sip of your water, if you pick your nose, if you talk to your husband, if you're yelling at your kids, whatever you're doing, like, all of that is recorded. So I do just like to remind people not to start the Zoom video until you are 100% ready to go. You're in a quiet space and there's no distractions and you're not, slopping down your last taco before class, because everyone will see that if they watch the recording back. Now, I'm not sure how much parents actually watch the recordings back. As a parent myself and my kids take Outschool classes, I don't think I've ever gone back and watched a recording, but they are recorded for teacher purposes and student safety, just in general. And kids can always go, and parents, they can always go back and watch the recording again if they wanted to. So that means that they get the recording from the moment you click and say recording. So just be mindful of that. You're going to be like off teacher mode for a couple of minutes or seconds depending on when you do it. And so just know that they're going to see anything that you did, okay? I typically do not start class until like seconds before or right on the minute. So like my class, if it starts at 9:15, I wait until my, watch or computer like hits 9:14 and then a couple of seconds, and then I will sign on. Because I use a lot of PowerPoints and then I like to get that set up and everything like that. So they might see my weird face as I'm like trying to click through my screens, but whatever. Or sometimes I'll wait to the exact like minute on the minute before I start my Zoom class, just because of the recording part of it. So if I want a last minute sip of my water or whatever, I can do that without anyone seeing me. So now we click the green button, we're in the class, we're ready to go. Zoom is the platform that Outschool uses. So Zoom will start prompting you when students are entering the waiting room. So they don't just come right into your class. You have to actually admit them. So it will pop up and say, you know, Billy Green is in the waiting room and Susie Pink is in the waiting room or whatever. I'm just trying to make up names now. So it will tell you when the students are in the waiting room, and you actually have to admit them into the room before they can see you. So this might be the time for you to take attendance or kind of just wait till a couple kids get in there. I do try to wait. If I go in like a minute early and kids typically pop on around that time, I'll try to wait till the exact time frame and then let them all in at once. It really just kind of depends. It doesn't matter when you let them in or not. You can let in a couple at once. You can let in one at a time. Whatever you want to do. There is a button next to each name that will say admit, or once you have more than one kid in there, there will be a button at the top. They're all blue buttons. It will say admit all, and then you can admit like all of them. So some of my classes, I have 18 students in there. I'm not going to go down and admit one at a time. I typically will look at the list first, and then I'll admit them all. So attendance is not something that Outschool is requiring you to do. I just typically, the teacher in me says, I want to know who's coming to class and who didn't, just in case a parent comes to me later and says, oh my God, Susie forgot there was a class, like, can I transfer to another one or get refunded or whatever? That's a whole other topic, but first of all, that like never happens. I think maybe once someone asked me to transfer to the other class because their Zoom wasn't working, and I just did. I was like, whatever, that's fine. I'm not really losing any money. I just transferred her to another class later in the day, and it was fine. But I like to kind of keep an attendance to just see who's there and who's coming, just in case. Again, not required. But so I'll have my phone out, and you can sign into Outschool on your phone pretty easily. It's not an app. I just go onto Google, and then I'll pull up my classroom, and I click learners, and then I have my learner list. I can't show you it for legal purposes on confidentiality. I can't show you the list of my kids' names. But I'll like have my phone out, and I don't like show them my phone, but it's fine. I'm not like on my phone on TikTok, like I'm doing the attendance, but I'll have my phone down here, like on my lap, and then I'll be like, okay, all right, Avery's here, okay, Angelina's here, Hannah's here, Johnny's here, and I'll just go down my list and make sure like everyone's in there in case I'm like waiting for somebody. Total like preference thing there. You don't have to do that. Outschool is not asking you to take an attendance. There's no attendance form. Like, you don't have to worry about that. But I don't know. That's just something I think maybe it's the teacher in me that I'm like, oh, I need to like take attendance. Sometimes I'll write it in the book. Like, oh, I shouldn't show that because it has kids' names on it. But sometimes I will take like a little attendance there. Maybe I can block out their names. Not that there's last names there, but see, like I write the dates on the top and like who came. And I obviously forgot to take it yesterday, but I don't know. It's just something for me. Anyways, I'm going to stop talking about attendance. I'm digressing. Okay, so once everyone's in my class and I'm ready to go, as my students are coming in, you want to wait on the bottom of where their name shows up. It will say connecting to audio. Some kids connect automatically and some do not. So you could be like, hey, Stanley, and like he can't hear you because like the audio is still connecting. So if it's like showing ... or like connecting to audio, like you're just talking to yourself, which is fine. Like who cares? But if you wait for that, or just wait a couple of seconds for everyone to get in, and then their name will display, then you know they're in there. So once they're in there, you go like, hey, Stanley, how are you? That's what I do. I greet every student as they come in and as their audios are coming on. And I'm like, hey, everybody, what's going on? How have you been today? What's the weather like? Where are you from? Like, I actually don't ever say where you're from. I don't want to put them in that position to tell me. I have had other students that have asked the class, hey, what state are you guys in? And that's really fun because all the kids are from like all over the place. Like I had someone from England the other day and he's like, I'm not in the United States. And he had his little British accent. I shouldn't even attempt to do that. But it was cute. And then like, it was so fun to hear where everyone was from. So I just don't personally do that because I just feel like I teach a lot of online safety with these kids and I always tell them not to tell strangers where you're from. So I just feel like that would be so counterintuitive of me to be like, hey, what state are you living in? I don't know. It's probably not a big deal, but I just don't. But I'm always like, if I need an icebreaker question because I'm doing like social classes right now, I'll say like, hey, everybody, I want you to say hi and then tell me your favorite color. So then I'll go down my Zoom list and I call on their name and I'm like, Stanley, what's your favorite color? Oh, green, that's awesome. Green's the best. And then I go, oh, hey, Ashley, how are you? Great. Your favorite color is pink. Oh my gosh, me too. Okay, great. And then like, sometimes they'll want to tell you a story. I just listen, let them go on for a little bit. If they're going on too long, you can kind of like find that moment where you can interrupt and be like, oh my gosh, you know what, Stacy, I love that story so much. Can you hang on 1 minute though? I just want to greet everybody else, and then you can tell me your story when we start class, okay? And then I like move on. You know, you might have to cut Stacy off because they're just so excited to talk, and that's such a good thing. But if they're going on for more than like a minute, I kind of have to be like, all right, because if I have 18 kids in a class and 18 of them want to talk for 18 minutes, like that's my whole class, because I do like a lot of 30-minute classes. You know what I mean? So just find your edge. Usually, it depends your age too. I work with a lot of little ones, so little ones want to ramble on. If my graphic designing classes, I have like 14 to 18 years old. They don't even want to talk to me. So you'll find your balance. But so anyways, intro, icebreaker, question, and then I get to my lesson. Whether that's showing a PowerPoint or, you know, asking them a collective question or discussion question or whatever it is that you're doing, you want to start getting into class. I usually, in my slideshows, I do have class rules, and I can share that with you too if you want. Just drop that in the comments down below. If you haven't seen it in my other videos, I can share my classroom rules with you. And one of my classroom rules is to stay muted. I do have them mute themselves because it's really distracting if you have 18 kids all on unmute and there's dogs barking and mailman's at the door and the doorbell's ringing, the microwave's going off, mom's screaming in the background. Like, it happens. It's fine. It's life. Just tell them all to mute themselves. If you have little ones and they are like just ignoring you or they don't know how to mute themselves, Zoom has a blue button over on where there's like a place to click participants. If you click that, all the kids will pop up and you'll have the blue button that says mute all. It's the best button in the entire Zoom platform. So I click that and I mute everybody. This doesn't like let them not unmute themselves, but it does give you that chance to like mute all so you can actually talk and say what you need to do. And so it's super, super helpful. Now, if somebody does unmute themselves and starts talking over you, just mute them back. Be like, nope. Like, I wouldn't say nope, but if I'm trying to talk and somebody is unmuting themselves to talk over me, I just go ahead and mute their screen. I won't even say anything because I've already given the instruction to mute because it's my turn to speak now. I'll just mute that kid. And it's not to be mean. It's just that, you know, they're not maybe understanding what you're trying to do. And if you mute them, they kind of get the hint and they're like, oh, okay. I've had kids ask me if they can leave to go to the bathroom, which is so funny because you're virtual, like you can do whatever you want. But if they do ask you to go to the bathroom, I'm just always like, yeah, sure, honey, go for it. It's not a problem. Like, I would never tell a kid no. Like, this is their time. And if they didn't go to the bathroom before class, I mean, that's really nothing you can do about it. That's a parent thing. So I'm always like, yeah, go get a drink, go to the bathroom. Yep, do whatever you want to do. That's totally fine. Because again, you can remind them that they can watch the recording back if they miss something, you know? So my class rules are there. Don't forget that mute all button. It's amazing. There's also a button too that says ask everyone to unmute, or I don't know if it says those exact words, but it will say something like ask everyone to unmute. And you click that and then it will prompt all the students to unmute if you wanted them to do that. So for me, I do a social gaming class. And so I want them all to unmute. I want to talk the whole time. I let them all like talk to each other, and it can get kind of loud, but it's super fun. So the Zoom buttons are definitely really great. Another classroom management tip. So sometimes you'll have siblings or cousins join the class together, and as long as both learners are enrolled in the class, they can use one screen. In fact, I do it with my daughters. If I sign them both up to a class and it's just easier for me to put them on my laptop, I'll put my laptop down, I put both girls in front of it, and that's fine. I've never heard a teacher say that they couldn't do that. I let kids do it all the time, but the rule is whoever's on screen has to be enrolled in the class in order for them to be on screen. So that means no parents can be in the Zoom screen. No siblings or cousins or anything should be on screen unless they are an enrolled learner. Okay, so I have it happen actually kind of a lot because my kids are younger and they have younger siblings that want to come on. And anytime I do see, and actually my last class, it just happened, anytime I see a sibling pop on the screen or somebody that's not supposed to be in my class, I will just kindly say to the student, like, hey, you know what, Rory, I see that like you have maybe a brother or a sister in the screen. I just have to let you know that they can't be on the screen with you, okay? Maybe they can sit on the ground next to you and watch, or, you know, maybe you can ask mom for help. And then I'll give them a second to kind of figure it out, because usually parents are nearby. If they're not, though, there's a couple of options you can do here. You can stop their video, So if you click on like the three dots on their little box in Zoom, you can click stop video, and then their person's not being recorded. And then you can just remind them again, like, hey, I need you to have someone come and help you. Is there any adults in your house that can come help you? You know, get your sibling out. And then I kindly, if a parent does come on screen to like ask about it, or they're kind of like, what's going on? I always just remind them it is an Outschool rule that no one can be on the screen except for the enrolled learner due to privacy and confidentiality. Because when parents are signing up for classes, they are agreeing that their kid can be recorded, but that's only for the kid that's enrolled. So if I have a sibling under here, like over here, that's watching and they're not enrolled in the class, Zoom or Outschool does not have permission to be recording their face. And so I just kindly tell mom and dad that I'm like, I'm so sorry, per Outschool rules, I can't have anyone that's not enrolled in the screen with your student that's enrolled already. I'm really sorry. If you want to enroll, like if they're old enough, I'm like, if you want to go ahead right now and enroll them in the class, they can certainly join in, but they do have to be enrolled in order to do that. And I've had parents go on, like, oh, okay, I'm so sorry. And they go on and they enroll the other kid, and then they put them on the screen and they do class together. That's totally fine. Sometimes you'll pop on and there'll be two kids next to each other already, and it would be like Arthur and Henry, and you're like, oh, okay, are you guys brothers? Well, sometimes it will only pop up one name. It depends on the person. Sometimes people fit in both, but sometimes it will say Arthur, but like someone's sitting next to him, but it's very clear that like they're sitting at the table and ready. So I'm like, hey, Arthur, who's with you over there? Oh, it's Henry. And this is why I like to take attendance. Oh, Henry, awesome. So like, then I know. Because Zoom also keeps count for you. So if I have my number 12 over there, it includes you, by the way. So if I have 12 kids enrolled and there's only 12 there, the 12 is including me. So I'm missing somebody, okay? I hope that makes sense. But then I see two kids on one screen. I'm like, oh, Arthur, is that your brother in the class? Oh, Henry, okay, great. And then I'm like, okay, that's fine. They're on the same screen. It makes life easier, probably. So yeah, just be mindful of that too. And then I've had a learner who was refusing once. Not like, it wasn't so harsh, but he was like, oh, this is my cousin. Like, she wants to play with us. And I'm like, well, that's great. She just can't be in the recording. Like, she can go sit on the floor, go in the other room, but like, I can't have her being recorded. And, like, she went off screen for a little while, and then she kind of came back, and it was kind of just in and out. So I eventually had the option on Zoom. Those three little dots have a bunch of different options for you. One of them is to put the kid in the waiting room. So I was like, hey, Rory, you know, until, you know, you get your cousin to find another place to be, I'm going to have to put you in the waiting room for a couple of minutes so you guys can figure that out, okay? And then I'll check in with you in a couple of minutes and you can come back. And then I take him and I put in waiting room, and he's gone. Because it's my responsibility to follow Outschool's rules, especially these kids are minors, and it's not like appropriate for me to allow them to be recorded when Outschool says no. So that's where I feel like Outschool has your back, and they're like, hey, no, you did the right thing. Outschool support is amazing. I've never had a problem with them. They are really supportive. So, and I've never had any issues anyways. No one's ever complained. No one's ever came back at me and said, hey, you put my kid in the waiting room. Like, and it doesn't happen that often, honestly. It's very few and far between. But anyways, I put him in the waiting room, and then I checked it back in like a minute or so, and I was like, hey, Rory, are you ready? And he's like, yep, I'm ready, sorry. And I'm like, yep, no problem. And he's back. Like, it's just a privacy thing. And if you explain that to them, it's usually not a big deal. Even when I have like my little ones, like 6 years old, I'm like, oh, can you get the adult in your house to come see you? And I say adult because not everybody has mom and dad at home. You never know who's there with them. It could be grandma, it could be uncle. So I just say an adult in your house, or whoever signed you up for this class, can you go get them? And then like it prompts them to go get whoever they're living with. Okay, let's see. Okay, so once you have everybody in your class and you've said hi to them, even before probably your icebreaker question or your discussion question, I always like to say hi to everybody first. Before I do my icebreaker, hi everybody, my name is Miss Michelle. I'm so excited you're in class today. I cannot wait to get to know all of you and teach you whatever I'm teaching, right? About apples, like whatever it is you're teaching. And then I go and like say hi to them, ask them their favorite color, blah, 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 blah. Okay, make sure you introduce yourself. I have definitely had classes where I forget because I just get so excited and I'm like, yeah, like let's do this. And then the kids will be like, teacher, and I'm like, oh crap, I forgot to introduce myself. So I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. If you want to get my attention, just say Miss Michelle and then I'll answer you. And they're like, okay. I always prompt them too in my rule list that if they want to talk to me at any point, because they're all on mute, they can raise their hand like this, or they can hit the virtual hand. Some of the kids know how to use the virtual buttons. Some do not. So if kids ask you like, well, wait, how do I use the virtual hand? I'm like, oh, that's time. You know, you can figure that out when we're not in class. Okay, try that out as soon as we're done, or as soon as you leave. I'm not about to sit there and explain to them how to use a virtual hand on Zoom. Like, that's not what my class time is spent for. So I just prompt them to look at it after, and I just tell them, just use your hand. That's totally fine. A lot of kids will try to just unmute and talk to you, and I will immediately mute them and say, nope, Charlie, can you raise your hand for me? Oh, great, thank you so much. You're teaching them, you know, classroom behavior as well, so don't feel like you can't do that. It's totally appropriate to do that, okay? Okay, once you begin your lesson, okay, you're muting all, you can put kids in the waiting room, your virtual signals, and what did I write? Oh, annotate. Okay, see, this is why I took notes. Okay. So if you are using, actually you don't even have to just use slideshows for this. So Zoom has an option where you can click a share button. When you click that share button, you can do a couple of things. You can share your screen. So if you're going to use like a PowerPoint presentation, you can share your screen on there, which is super fun. But they also have a whiteboard option. So I find this is super helpful if like you're teaching math or something. You can share the whiteboard, and then if you use Annotate, you'll see all these buttons at the bottom of your Zoom screen, okay? But it says Annotate. That allows you to click and make a text box, or you can draw, you can do all kinds of things. And so like I will use this with my students all the time if I'm doing math, which I don't really do much here, but like I've definitely, taught math on Zoom before. You can like write the math problems on the board, and then they can use it back. Like it's super fun. Like I don't even have a mouse because I have a Mac, so I just like draw on my mouse to do it. You'll be fine, I promise. But I definitely recommend, if you can go on Zoom, you'll have to have Zoom anyways on your computer installed, but go on Zoom and mess around with these buttons, you know? Even if you don't have anyone else in your house to like join you, if you want to have like a mock class, go on Zoom from like a different device, like your iPad or your laptop, and then join that Zoom with your phone. That way you have another box to start learning about like the learner options, like the 3 buttons and stuff. And then you'll kind of have that like, oh, hey, this is really cool. Just maybe put your phone in like another room, or put it all the way on mute because you don't want to hear the echo. It will be super annoying. But give yourself a little tutorial. Go in Zoom, mess around with it, and start learning the buttons before you go in class if that makes you feel more comfortable. Zoom has a lot of other options. One of them that I would say is when you're going on Zoom, you want to make it so, I feel like it's an automatic prompt, but just in case it's not, I want you to know there's an option out there. If you go on Zoom, you can make it so like it's a doorbell sound anytime somebody comes in or out of the classroom. And I find that to be super helpful because then I know if someone's like trying to get in class and I'm already halfway through, it will be like bing bong, and I'm like, oh, someone's trying to get in. There's many times where I've done classes and kids are coming in halfway through because they forgot they had a Zoom class. And I let them come in. I just make sure that they are immediately on mute as we go. I don't stop the class and go tell them all the rules and start over again. Nope. If you came halfway through the class, like you're just going to have to join right in. And if they start like unmuting or being unruly, just kind of remind them brief rules as you go, just so they know the expectation. What am I forgetting? Oh, okay. So at the end, I always like to add, I mean, this is more in my other videos, but I always like to add like little questions in between and like let them unmute and raise their hand and things like that. But then at the end, I make sure that mute all button is on so I can give my final like outro, and I will say to everybody, once everybody's muted, I will say, I'm like, thank you so much everybody for coming to class. It was so nice to meet you. Here's, I'll promote myself and tell them another class that they can join after this. And so I'm like, if you have your adult in your life or your parent, go on and click my name. You'll get to see all the other classes that I offer. For this class, I recommend that you take reading and strategies and comprehension after this, whatever would correspond with the class that I'm teaching. I would recommend another one, because then the kids get excited and they're like, oh, I want to take that class with you. Like if you were a great teacher with a lot of energy and they had fun with you, they're going to say, hey mom, she has another class, I want to take it. Happens all the time. That's why right now my re-enrollment rate is 10%, which is fantastic. So I make sure now that I promote myself that way, and I say, don't forget to check out this other class that I have. I would love to see you in there, or I'd love to play with you, or whatever your spiel is. And then if you can, after I say like, thank you for coming class, it was so nice to meet you, here's my next class, I hope you all have a great rest of your day, and then I try to say goodbye to every single kid. Bye Stanley, bye Henry, bye Arthur, bye Ashley, it was so great to see you guys, I can't wait to see you again. Use like future language with them and say things like that. Like I'm always like, I can't wait to see you in my next class, I hope to see you again soon. All those kinds of prompts allow them to remind them to be like, oh, hey, yeah, I do. I want to go in her class again. I want to see her. So give yourself that. Promote yourself at the end. There's nothing wrong with that. I think Outschool actually, if I remember reading it on their site, they actually encourage you to do that. There's actually an option now in your class listing to say, hey, what class would you recommend next? And you can promote yourself that way. So make sure you're using all of those options. I hope this was super helpful for classroom management. Again, if you have any questions, definitely put them down in the comments below or email me, or if you're in my private Facebook group for successful online teachers, definitely hit me up over there, or, you know, ask to be in the group, the description, or ask to be in the group. The link to the group is in my description down below. So I'd love to have you come in there, start learning even more and asking your questions and hearing from other teachers. It's really, really awesome group and so supportive. So I'd love to see you in there. All right, if this video was helpful, please do me a favor and give it a thumbs up. It really helps me on my YouTube channel. And don't forget to hit that red subscribe button so you don't miss any time I put out a new video to help you become a successful online teacher. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.